What's up? This is Jim Ellie with Reactive Training Systems, and today we're going to be learning how to sumo deadlift. Now, this is a full comprehensive guide on how to sumo deadlift, but how to deadlift in general. Many of the techniques and the fundamentals that I talk about in this video, you can definitely apply to your conventional deadlift. In this video, we talk about each step in the deadlifting process, from the setup to the anti-shrug to breathing and bracing to setting your hips at a position that is right for you, and effectively how to make the bar float. This is a video that comprises the last 6 years of my coaching experience and teaching just the sumo deadlift alone. This week alone, I have had conversations with my one-on-one all-access coaching clients about these drills and these techniques that you're going to see in this video. And I realized that it's such a common topic and it's seemingly helping so many of my lifters that I wanted to share it with you. This video is very long. It's about 20 minutes. Now, there are going to be sections in this video that you can skip over. If you feel like you get the point and you get the gist, skip to the next section. That said, if you just want the step-by-step breakdown of each part of the deadlift, you can skip to the end where I break down one video of mine where I demonstrate each part of the sumo deadlift, what it looks like, what it should kind of feel like. The point of this video is to show that by bringing awareness to your technique and thinking about the why behind the sessions that are strong and the subtle differences between good days and bad days can ultimately help you reinforce and create a process that is repeatable and leads to long-term progress and long-term strength gains. So if you find this video helpful, please subscribe to Reactive Training Systems. Follow us on Reactive Training Systems on Instagram. You can follow me at Jim_RTS, or you can follow any of the other coaches at Reactive Training Systems: Mike Jussier, Isabella von Weissenberg, Mark Robb, Paulie Simon, Ross Lepla, John Garofano, in no particular order. We love teaching powerlifting. We love teaching the process of getting stronger, and technique is one of those processes and those things that we love to develop for ourselves. Finding these subtle nuances that can make the difference between pulling the bar off the floor and not requires bringing attention to your technique and bringing awareness to each session and setting the intention that in each training session, you're going to do the best that you possibly can to produce the most force off of the floor. Hopefully you like this, and let's get right into it. What is up? This is Jim Ellie, Jim RTS with Reactive Training Systems. And today I want to go over a technique, a tutorial of sorts for setting up for the deadlift. And this was actually inspired by Bryce Krawczyk's video that he recently made on his channel on setting up for the deadlift. But ultimately, it was inspired by my lifters. This week, I've been working with a lot of lifters who have been reworking their deadlifts and trying to find the next steps to making their deadlifts feel better and feel stronger. They have good technique if you look at them and don't pay attention to the smaller details. But there are some subtleties that you can make that can make a huge difference when it comes to a successful lift and an unsuccessful lift. And for an example, I'm going to show my deadlift from last week. I believe this is 212 kilos, so 485 or something, 487. I just want to show you two attempts and one lift that go from an RP 10, I make an adjustment, and it goes to an RP 7. So I'm going to play that right now. Okay, so that's the successful lift. This is the unsuccessful lift. They were right after one another, by the way. Okay, so I don't know if you caught that, but I tried to pull it off the ground, and then I was like, nope, not happening. Started here. Nope, not happening. I really tried. I really had a lot of tension. I mean, look at the bar. It's bending. Everything looks good. If you were to look at this and think, oh, he did something wrong. It's RP10. The weight's just too heavy. Well, let me tell you, it wasn't too heavy. I was doing something very subtle that was wrong, at least in a way that wasn't allowing me to maximize my positioning and leverages and ultimately produce the most force into the bar I want to start from the beginning, because if you start your deadlifting process from once your hands are at the bar, you're missing out on a lot. And there are a few things that are really key in the deadlift. The first thing is that the initial setup you have before you drop down to the bar can help to put you in a starting position that you can be really happy with. If you do spend some time trying to get tension and you do feel like you need to have the best position possible, then this video is for you. The first thing that I like to do, and I like to encourage my lifters to do, is to stack the torso on top of the pelvis before initiating anything. You can see I elevate my chest and then I bring it down. I keep it flush with the belt or the core before I initiate anything. And I like to pull my shoulders down. So it's an exhale, and then I pull my shoulders down, and then I also elongate my neck and elongate my head. Because before I grip the bar, I want to make sure that I'm starting in a position that is comfortable and that is going to be something I can maintain as I move my hips down and start dropping down to grip the bar. For my lifters, I encourage this as well. I like to actively give my hips an input by hitting my hips open, kind of slapping my adductors open. And that kind of cues me to maintain tension in my legs and my quads as I get down to grip the bar. But the key is that before I do that, I'm also breathing into my core, into my belt, and I'm expanding against it and holding that position until I need to rebreathe and rebrace as I get to the bottom. The next thing is, after I've set my hips and I've stacked my torso on top of my pelvis, I drop down and I open my hips out, and I'm immediately engaging my feet and my glutes and my quads and creating tension and torque on the floor against the floor. I'm trying to make sure that I have as much leverage off of the floor as possible. And this is something I encourage my lifters to do as well. The entire movement of the deadlift needs to be an active process. It's important to pay attention to each step here because, again, if you go over to this lift, it can literally be the difference between a successful lift and an unsuccessful lift. This was unsuccessful because I wasn't doing the right things. I didn't have enough tension. I lost some tension in my core, and most of the tension ended up going to my hips, and that was uncomfortable. It didn't feel strong. Then I fixed it, and it flew up, okay? But I want to show you the whole process so that when you get to a point where you don't know what's going on, you can ask yourself, did I follow these steps? Did I make sure that each part of my process is something that I was happy with, something that I tried or intended to do? A lot of times people go into their lifts and they don't even know what their process is, and then something happens and they freak out, or they aren't able to understand what broke down specifically in their deadlift process, because it does not start here. It starts when you're standing up. That's when you can make adjustments, and you can slowly make adjustments before you get to the bar, so that once you get there, you're in the best position you can be, and then you can make subtle micro adjustments once you get down there. Obviously, I've done this for a while, so I don't spend like an hour doing each step of the process. But one thing I do once I get ready is I'm kind of maintaining this upper back position. I'm trying to maintain a neutral spine. There's going to be some kyphosis and lordosis throughout the back. It's not a straight back. It's neutral, meaning that you're not intentionally arcing your back. You're not crunching. You're trying to maintain the position that it sits naturally. And this should minimize the likelihood that you have any inconsistency with your deadlift. Then once you get down to the bar, that is when you initiate building tension and creating tension. And the place which you start building tension from can dictate whether or not this is a successful lift or an unsuccessful lift. One of the things I've noticed to be really helpful is that once I can get my fingertips to the bar, that's when I start wrapping my hands around. And I also encourage that once you get your hands down to the bar, that is where you keep your hips. So if you're initiating this and you drop down, once your hands are at the bar, that's when you can start bending at the hips instead of continuing to squat down to the bar. A lot of times people will just get way too low and they'll like have their hips down to their knees. You're doing a deadlift, meaning you're leveraging the bar off of the floor. Yes, you're using your quads. Yes, you're using your hips in synchrony, but you want to make sure your hips are high enough so you can create that leverage and you're not just squatting the bar off the floor. Okay, this is key right here. The next step is to pull my shoulders down. So I'm actively, it's like an anti-shrug. Pull the shoulders down, and then with my hands, I'm rotating around and gripping the bar, creating more tension. I'm actually quite loose in my hips here. I'm not creating a lot of tension in my hips. I'm starting the tension in my upper back, setting the upper back, the thoracic spine first, putting that in a position where I feel really strong. And then that's when I can initiate my hips. And for most of my lifters I've been working with over the last week, this cue has helped them to improve their deadlift significantly. Notice there's no tension in my hips right now. I'm just keeping my hips high. I have not yet initiated my quads. I'm aware of my quads, but I do not have maximum tension applied here yet, because the most important thing is putting the upper back in a position to leverage off. That's the position where your hands are. Your hands are directly below this spot here. And if I don't feel good, if I don't feel strong, I don't feel ready, that's why I kind of, okay, crap, I didn't do that right. I need to redo that again, because the sequence in which you do this can impact how strong you feel. So I'm always trying to make sure that the shoulders and the upper back are locked in first, and then lock in the hips, then lock in the quads, and then press the floor away from you. I like to move my neck around, just kind of feel my traps. If you're deadlifting and you don't feel like your neck is elongated, then you're probably not engaging the mid traps enough, and there's not enough tension in that upper back. Okay, so now I'm creating tension in my hips. Look at my upper back position. My shoulders are pulled down. They're not shrugged. They're away from my ears. I'm pulling them as far away from my ears as possible. And I encourage my lifters to do the same. Once I'm on a good spot, hips are high, shins are pretty straight, and then the next step is to maintain the upper back position, get my chest high, get my shoulders out of the way so that my hips can then leverage the bar off the floor. Look at how long my neck is. It's like you're at the doctor's office and you're trying to be as tall as possible, but you also have a 500-pound bar underneath you, okay? So you pull your shoulders down, you're actively engaging in the lats, your chest is high, but I'm not arcing my chest. This is a very neutral position, and it's as far away from the bar as I can make it while maintaining the neutrality in the core. And just look at that straight line. This is what neutrality looks like. There's going to be some arc, of course, in the lumbar, but it's a neutral position that allows you to then transfer the force that you're generating from your feet to your hips, to your traps, and then because your hands are locked into the bar pops off, okay? So this makes it really easy to replicate. Once I get that first position, I know exactly what it needs to feel like for the second, third, and fourth rep. And that's the position I'm trying to emulate. But look at how much tension is maintained. I don't let go of that tension here. Tension is maintained in the bar. The bar is literally floating off the floor before I fully engage my legs. Now, it's important, again, the whole time I'm trying to maintain a neutral back. You'll know if you're doing this right is when you lock out, is your chest, chin, sternum, and pelvis still in alignment? If they are, then you started out correctly. If you're doing conventional, the same things apply. It's just you're not going to have your hips as close to the bar. And a lot of times you'll hear that sumo is all about getting your hips as close to the bar as possible. It's not about that. It's getting your hips as close as the bar as you need to feel strong, and then standing up with it. It's about leverage. It's not about hypothetical optimal positions. I'm trying to teach you positions that are going to make you feel like you have the most leverage and the most control over the bar. I'm not trying to get you to simulate and make your deadlift look exactly like mine. That's not what I try to get my lifters to do. I try to show them a process that allows them to create their own technique with their own leverages, but understanding why they're doing what they're doing. Again, I'm setting my hips, getting my hips feeling good, making sure everything is ready to go. This forceful exhale allows me to really engage my core, keeps my shoulders down, keeps my head long. It also helps to relax where I need to relax and tense up where I need to tense up. Really just the lats. It's also key that the deadlift bar is close to your shins here. If the bar is away from you, then you're not going to be able to maintain this position. And you want the bar to be in a consistent spot each time you pull. Assuming you have the right tension, you're starting from creating tension in the upper back, then the thoracic spine, then the lumbar, while maintaining an expansive core, by the way. This whole time, if I ever feel like my core is getting small, I breathe again into the core. You don't have to hold your breath the whole time. Be aware of where your breath is, and if you start feeling like it's too much in your neck, exhale. Inhale. You can do that in any position if you dial this in properly. My dog makes an appearance at some point. There she is. Boom. Just making it nice and easy. Is this how you don't do it? You kind of rush it. You forget the important stuff. If you'll notice here that my shoulders are a little bit too in front of me. I'm sitting here and nothing is tense. Okay, that's where I went wrong. In these other videos, when I was in this position, my shoulders and my lats were tense. And I was keeping my hips high. My hips are too low here, and as a result, when I initiate, they stay low, and there's way too much tension in my core, or in my lumbar, and that makes me feel really uncomfortable. It doesn't make me feel strong. So when I started, I wasn't tight enough here, and then my hips got a little bit too under me, and most of the tension was being generated from like the top of my belt versus my mid trap. Of course, there's tension in my upper back, but there's not as much. And look at my neck position when I try to initiate compared to here, okay? Here versus here. Okay, here, right? Look how high my neck is. Look how tall I am. Here versus here. I'm still pretty low. My hips are much lower. You can see how low my hips are, and then I correct. Do it again because I just wasted a ton of energy. Now I'm in a better spot. My neck is much higher. My hips are higher. I'm getting the quads engaged. I'm keeping the glutes engaged. But look at how big my belly is here. I'm really expanding into the core. My shoulders are down. The process has been followed and the bar comes up. So let me know if this was helpful for you. I know there's a lot going on here, but I think the important thing is to find a position that you can be a process for your deadlift that you can kind of check off in your head that you can use to start making and building a process for yourself that works. If you found this helpful, let me know. Otherwise, I'll talk to you in the next video.